There is this one television that is so entertaining. It is so inspiring and so educative. It is God's own television, TV station that changes sinners, TV station for the oppressed, TV station for the hopeless. Star-Crossed TV, inspiring station. Watch Star-Crossed TV, enlightening station. Watch Star-Crossed TV, empowering station. God's own station, uniting the world. There is this one television that is so entertaining. It is so inspiring and so educative. It is God's own television, TV station that changes sinners, TV station for the oppressed, TV station for the hopeless. Star-Crossed TV, inspiring station. Watch Star-Crossed TV, enlightening station. Watch Star-Crossed TV, empowering station. God's own station, uniting the world. There is this one television that is so entertaining. It is so inspiring and so educative. It is God's own television, TV station that changes sinners, TV station for the oppressed, TV station for the hopeless. Star-Crossed TV, inspiring station. Watch Star-Crossed TV, enlightening station. Watch Star-Crossed TV, empowering station. God's own station, uniting the world. There is this one television that is so entertaining. It is so inspiring and so educative. It is God's own television, TV station that changes sinners, TV station for the oppressed, TV station for the hopeless. Star-Crossed TV, inspire.
A very good morning to you, our wonderful and esteemed audience. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for another interesting, exciting, pleasant episode of the Morning Star Breakfast Show. Good morning, Alaga, Araima, Bonjour, Ekaro, Sambonani. Wherever you're watching us from, very good morning to you. I wish we could extend our, should I say, our languages to many countries where we can get. I think Ashanti Baba and all of that. Good morning. As far as you relate to me, that's fine. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Today promises to be very interesting, exciting, as it is Friday. Thank God it's Friday. So we're coming with vibes, positive vibes, energetic vibes for you to begin your weekend with. I am Queen Sam and I'm here with a very beautiful, authentic Roots. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you very much for the hype. I'm feeling like
it's not hype. You're looking very good today.
Thank you. Looking good as well.
Okay, thank you very much. You look like you're going after here. You're going to the courtroom.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Well, I look like a lawyer.
Yeah, you look very nice.
Thank you so
morning.
much.
Alright, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, today is very interesting. On Tuesday, we had this discussion, this flaring discussion, where a lot of people were calling in to know about, the topic, love. Does love guarantee a lasting relationship? On Tuesday, we had so many calls and contributions on that topic, and we promised that we're going to continue that discussion. We're not just going to end it like that, because there were a lot of things that were exposed during that conversation. I think we'll get to find out that love is not just the only ingredient in a successful relationship or long lasting. There's several things, and his grace mentioned something like love languages. Is it Yoruba, Efi, which language? Is it Spanish, Italian? What is that?
I think he was talking about the communication in a relationship.
Okay.
The way I understood, we didn't really talk much because we're running out of time. The communication. Sometimes in some relationships, people fail to communicate because of fear of losing the person, or fear of shutting the opposite person shutting you up, you get. Or if you talk, you don't know what the family of the person you're involved with is going to do to you. So that fear is always there, and it's like a barrier. So I think we should, overshadow that fear and learn to talk. When something is bothering you in a relationship, learn to speak out. Do not keep it to yourself, because you're doing that relationship more harm than good. I think that's what he was trying, if I understood him perfectly well.
Yeah, but again, this communication it has like two sides to it. A lot of people say don't talk too much. It's not very good to say all your mind, because sometimes you can be very angry and then you say stuff you don't mean, and it spoils your relationship. So to what extent
you can't really turn back the hands of time to reverse what you said. But if you really want to look at it the second time, I think it is not good to hold back some things, because you do not even know what this next second holds for you. What if you don't say, and then something happens, and then you're like, if I had known, I would have said it out.
Have you been in situations where you've argued with somebody and you did not say your mind totally, like, oh my god,
yes, and you're looking for something to happen, something to lead to something
so
that will make
say
you
your mind again.
Exactly why you have to say, exactly why you have to say
sometimes
everything.
Again, you've also been in situations where you say too much and you're like, oh, if I knew I shouldn't have said this. So what for you, what's the perfect reaction you should have, like when it comes to like arguments and those heated discussions?
I think that's where bite your tongue before you talk comes in. Test the words. If you know it's going to hurt, then swallow that aspect. But for me, I think you should be real, not pretense in a relationship, because pretense in a relationship is just like pregnancy. It will not hide. So be you. Talk
so
when you talk when you have to talk.
Bite your tongue and be real at the same time.
Test your words. Test your words. Like, if I know telling you stupid will hurt you, then you shouldn't say it. Learn how to bridle your tongue.
What if the person is acting stupidly and you really need to tell the person that you are acting stupid?
There are many ways you can correct the person.
Please tell me another word for stupid. You don't have sense.
No, you're not using. No, you're not going to say you don't have sense. There are other ways to correct somebody. You can set example. Look at the way this person is behaving. Do you like it? You don't like it? Then please don't do anything related to how this person is behaved. A reasonable person will know that you are indirectly cautioning him or her. I think that's one of the ways.
What if you're in an argument with someone who's not reasonable? What would you do? This communication stuff, I think it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the shoes, when you're in that situation where you need to spill out your mind, man, I don't think you would be able to filter your words, like you said, taste, like more of like filter your words. Sometimes you really need to say your mind, like to let the person know this is how I feel about this particular situation.
It's
like
okay
it or
to
not,
air out your mind, but when you sit back and think about it, then if you know you hurt that person in the process,
of saying your mind,
then you have, it's okay to apologize.
Why would you not feel like you hurt somebody when you're
because
saying
you
your
said
mind?
it in a fit of rage.
You made me feel very offended. Maybe we are in a relationship. This relationship we're even talking about, even friendship is also involved. You made me feel offended, and I'm telling you my mind that you've offended me, and the extent to which I felt like you've offended me, and then you are upset with the way I'm communicating my own displeasure. And why would I need to come and tell you I'm sorry when you've already offended me? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, why would I come to tell you I'm sorry for saying my mind when you expect me to be real?
Okay, in that case, you have to wait until you are do not say it when you are still in rage, because there is no way you can talk to somebody in rage that you will not offend that person. Your voice will even go loud. But when you are okay, that's why it is said, do not make any decision when you are in a fit of rage. Try to hold yourself. That is where discipline comes in. Hold yourself, keep calm, keep calm, be you. Do not act like everybody's holding sword, so you have to go and carry your own mortar so that you join the masses. No, learn to discipline yourself. When you are okay, that is when you see clearly. I think that's when you should speak to the person and look at the time. Look at the person's what is it called, the person's mood. If the person is in the mood to talk, don't just take the discussion.
So you have to wait for them to be in the mood.
Yeah, you have
it's
to
not
wait.
like pleasing them too much.
No, you're not pleasing them. You're not
displeasing yourself, because this thing is always two sides. When we say, okay, I have to wait for somebody to be in the mood, you are in the mood to talk and the person is not in the mood to talk. The person is in the mood to talk, you're not in the mood to talk. How would you balance that situation? Okay, you call the person. That's where you have to be plain. Are you in the mood?
No, am I communicating at the right time? Do you have anything to do? Can you give me 20 minutes? In fact, if you're making up, then it's not going to be 20. Can you give me 1 hour of your time?
Anyway,
no, I
don't have 1 hour to spare.
Then you could say 30 minutes. As the discussion progresses, the person will lend you another 30 minutes, because it's heating up and everything has to be settled. So the person will give you another 30 minutes of his or her time,
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm not even here to drill you on this particular thing. I think we're supposed to interact more. And the topic again, like I said, our discussion segments today, we're going to continue our discussion on, does love guarantee a lasting relationship? From that discussion, we found that there's several things that are main, or should I say essential ingredients to a successful relationship and marriage. Do not forget that marriage is one of the sacraments in BCS, Brotherhood of the Cross and Star, and it's very sacred, and it's been upheld in the sacred way to tell you how important it is in Brotherhood of the Cross and Star. So we are here to talk about the things that would sustain marriage, and the things that relationship leads to marriage. So we talk about things that would help you sustain your relationship, identify to you, okay, this is where you're going wrong, or where you're going wrong, how do I try to bring it back, how do I try to amend, and get good going, because a good marriage leads to good breedings, like children and all of those things. We all need the world to have love, peace, to be in unity. So join in the conversation. You can feel free to call us with the number that's displayed on your screen and join the conversation on, does love guarantee a successful or a long-lasting relationship and marriage? Well, today we'll also be going to the street to talk about something essential. I think as we progress, I'm going to review what that is, but it's also on communication, but not in marriage, rather on its effects in youth and their self-esteem. We'll also be relating back with Dr. Samuel Jumbo, who is going to be on standby to tell us on the natural approaches to obesity and weight loss. So if you're struggling with any of these things, this is the right edition for you. You don't need to miss this particular episode. So send this link, share our link, click on our post notification bell so that you can get more updates from Star Press Television. Like this video, comment, and call in to make the program more interesting. Your views and opinion definitely counts. So let's go back to our discussion while we're still expecting His Grace Archbishop Venerable Books to join us this morning.
You see, in a marriage, take for instance, you're married and problems. In fact, there is no perfect marriage. It's all, I think, I'm not yet married, please don't get me wrong, please. I think everything is like packaging. Problems are bound to come in. It all depends on how you treat the problem inside your house. Now, lack of communication will give way to third party in marriage or relationship. For instance, I offend you. Instead of you coming to me to tell me, Ruth, this thing you did is very, very wrong, and I expect an apology from you, you keep quiet. And you keeping quiet means you're bearing grudge. In fact, you've built a mansion for me already in your heart, right? And the next thing will be, if you want to bulldoze that mansion, you have to talk to somebody else. They say problem shared is half solved, right? Yeah, so you have to talk to somebody because you want to clear your mind. Because you're so bitter with me that you can't come to me to like tell me, Ruth, this thing you did is wrong. You now calling for third party outside. They'll come and give a wrong advice. They'll now like separate spoil the whole thing totally. That's why relationship is needed for a long-lasting relationship. You need to communicate, learn to swallow your pride. In fact, what is pride in marriage and what is pride in relationship? It is not needed. Everybody has to be like periwinkle, that to say like everybody with cap, right? And if you act, in fact, inside you have to act like what is it called, ceteris paribus, right? All things being equal, you have to keep your big man or big woman
I agree with
in your pocket.
I agree with you, but there again, because I like to think from various perspectives, and I'm not trying to be like antagonistic concerning what you've said so far, but I also feel like sometimes people are being pushed to involve in third parties, especially when they feel like they can't communicate to some extent. They can't go like, we are friends now and I'm communicating to you, trying to express my displeasure and the things I felt like you did not do right. I expect you to reply with the same energy when I offend you as well. But sometimes I'm doing that, but you are not being responsive. You're not trying to change. You're not trying to adjust your behavior or try to respect my boundaries and all of that. So then what do? I still want us to continue being friends or still be in a relationship, or we're married. I'm just thinking from their own perspective. Then I go and involve somebody else. Oh, please help me talk
like
to
a counselor
him.
or just a friend.
Now the person you are looking at, you are feeling that the person respects that person. When you're looking about third party, but I don't know if this is okay.
I think third party should always be good. I don't buy the idea of even telling your in-laws or in-laws or siblings about the problems you're having in your relationship. I do not buy the idea at all, because
so most people do, and I'm just trying to say, yes, you do not buy the idea, but most people involve people because they want to save their relationships. I think they get so frustrated to the extent they feel like, let me tell people, or let me just tell somebody if the person can help.
That's when it gets to the point of depression. When you're depressed, right? You shouldn't allow it to get to that. You shouldn't allow it to get to that.
What would you do in that situation? Your partner is not trying to make things easy for you, not trying to be responsible for their actions. What would you do?
Fine. I will sit the person down. Like, I do not mind losing everything, but I will have to sit you down, talk to you. In fact, the more you try to like push me away, I don't want to listen. I know for sure you will give me time. You give me that time I'm looking for. Sit the person down. Talk some sense into the person's head. It's not every time you call in for third parties to come and solve. For crying out loud, you actually started it. In fact, the people involved in the friendship or marriage started the problem, and there was no third party. Then why should you look for somebody to come and solve it when you actually started it? And if you're in a friendship or relationship or a marriage, before it got to that point, you had already discussed. Tell the person, this is how I operate.
So
In
if
any-
the person is not being, like I said, I know you say you need to talk to the person.
Yes.
You need to talk to the person. You're not even straight. You sit the person down. Like, are you
Yeah.
going to knock the sense into the person's thin skull? Like, what would you say? Like, don't you think that involving third party at that point might be? No, see, God is not third party. Let's just be very, very realistic.
Yeah.
God is never a third party in everything we do. God is there present.
Exactly.
He's not a party.
Mhm.
He is fully present. He's part of your relationship. And the
Okay.
moment you don't involve God from the beginning, there's always bound to be problems, you know. So I think God is not someone you look at as or look to or forward to as a third party. You should be there to listen to you and all of that. So now at some point in your life where you feel like the person you're relating with is not adjusting to change, and you don't want to involve somebody else, you don't want to involve your parents, you don't want to involve your priest in the Bethel or your pastor, you don't want to involve your friends, you don't want to involve anybody, what would you do?
You pray.
You pray.
Yes. You
And
pray
still
and
remain in
fast.
the
You pray
relationship.
and fast that God shows you another way of tackling that problem. There
And
is-
still continue to remain in the relationship
and still continue
and
to
endure.
yes, because in BCS in Brotherhood of the Cross and Star, the first is, in fact, Father doesn't pray about it, doesn't encourage there. Thank you very much. It doesn't encourage divorce. So you have to fast, pray, and ask Him for grace to see, or not to see, but to guide your steps on how to tackle that problem, because you have to solve it.
Yeah, I understand you. I think I also share in that belief, although I do not agree totally.
Okay, tell
No,
me what
no,
you
I
would do
just-
if you
I
were to
just
be
feel
in that
like-
situation.
No, I think that me,
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I've never thought of myself being in such a situation, but
Create an instance.
Yeah.
Create an instance.
quite an instance like between friends.
Yeah.
Because even the Bible says when you have issues with somebody,
Yeah.
after forgiving the person or trying to talk to the person,
Mhm.
the person does not listen, you take it to the elders. It might not work for everybody and it might not be for every situation. I mean, yeah, those. Now, if I have a problem with my friend and I really want that relationship to be for a long time,
Yeah.
and I've tried to speak with the person is not adjusting, I think I'll have to relate to somebody the person respects. You understand? It might be somebody, maybe their pastor, the priest, Bethel priest, for instance. For our situation, I feel Bethel priest is more revered in this kind of situation,
Okay.
or their parents. It depends. It depends on the situation, basically.
Okay.
If it's something that's I don't feel like another person should know, fine. But but I'm not in relating with the third party. You're not going to spill out everything like, oh, this is what this is. Just,
Yeah,
okay,
some things are
can you
bound to
help
be kept secret.
Yeah, exactly. Between you and your friend or you and your partner in this situation. You might disagree with me, please call me. I don't know, because I'm trying to prove myself in this situation so that I can best say, okay, this is the next step I'm going to do. But somebody has to be involved to try to mediate. And sometimes, or you go to a counselor, a therapist, seek for therapy sessions. Go to a counselor, try to seek their opinion, but somebody has to be the person has to be non-biased, not to be biased, to listen to the both of you.
Yeah, that's
and
where
try
a
to
counselor. Remember, I
mediate.
made mention of a counselor.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you if it gets to that point, I think a counselor is needed.
So when you get to that point, counselor no fit solve the problem. And you know that this problem is unresolved. Can you endure it? Can you tolerate it? Fine, if you can. But if you cannot tolerate it, you cannot endure it, what do you do? Is a question to my audience.
I think
Please
that is
let
where we
us know.
need His grace.
Let us know what you think in this situation. We're talking about love being the essential ingredient to a lasting relationship, but now we're talking about more of communication. How do you think you can solve problems in relationship with communication? Is it enough?
Some people can communicate,
yeah.
but some can listen.
Exactly.
You
That's what
also
I say,
need to be a good
non-responsive.
listen. You have to be a good listener in a relationship. Not when some people whenever you want to talk, like they'll press your throat. It's like an irony. Like you try to stop that person from talking because you are too angry. you get, then it shouldn't be so. You should learn to listen and get everything. There is always sense in every nonsense, right?
True.
Listen and get everything so that you know how to respond. Well, it's not like that in some friendships. Yeah, whenever you want to talk, you notice the other person is already pressing your throat, and boom, it's going to be like, if it continues like that, then it's bound to crash. Then what? So that one person, in fact, in every relationship, every marriage, quote, I'm sorry, I'm not even married, but I'm just saying it, I'm just quoting an instance. I think one person has to mellow. You can fire, and fire cannot quench, cannot.
So one person has to be firing and the other person mellows.
Yeah, like fire and ice. Yeah, one person has to be cool, while the other person, one person has to be hot.
I think both have to know that particular instance is for the both of them.
Yeah.
When the other person is flaring up, try to be cool.
Yeah.
When the other person is cool, I'm not saying to try to be flaring up. All I mean is that when you see that the other person is upset, don't say, oh, in this relationship, my duty is to be angry and your own duty is to be quiet or calming down. Then you cause problem, because then you look at it from that instance, then you're not trying to say, you're just trying to be a boss in that relationship. And for me, I feel like for relationships and marriage, you come to the extent where the both of you, they call you to become one. That's what the Bible says. Become one, exactly. Not 2 and 1, not 5 and 2 or 5 and 3.
You have to be equal.
You have to be equal in that relationship for it to work. When you start seeing your partner as an equal mate, in that there's some there are specifics or responsibilities that are assigned to the man in that relationship. Of course, the Bible has stipulated it, and it's specific for the woman. But when it comes to communication, both of you have to see yourselves as equals, not as a boss or an employer-employee kind of relationship, if I may go that way. All right, we have His Grace Archbishop Venerable Books online already. Your Grace, please, can you continue your discussion or your conversation on the communication, effects of communication in relationship, and does love guarantee a long-lasting relationship and marriage? Last episode, you mentioned something like love languages, and I was teasing Rutobu here. I was asking if it's Yoruba or Efik or Spanish. Your Grace, good morning.
Good morning, Sister Queen Sam. Good morning, Sister Ruth. Good morning, everybody. So glad to be here this morning. How are you all?
Oh, we're doing well. How about you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. We thank the Father.
All right, please go ahead with your conversation, your discussion on the topic.
To be honest with you, I don't have a particular conversation or message prepared. I think today I'm just going to answer questions, basically. So if you ask me anything directly, then I'll just try to answer.
Okay. Thank you very much. Last week you said something about love languages, and you were unable to explain further what love languages is pertaining to relationships and marriage, and how useful it helps in sustaining relationships.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I remember touching a little bit on that, and I will try to obviously expatiate on that. The thing about relationships and marriages, and I sort of mentioned last week, is that when you first of all look at the statistics, it's mind-blowing to begin with. To see that 50% of relationships or marriages end up in breakups or divorce, it's mind-blowing. That for every 2 couple you see out there, that one of them will not last the distance. They'll break up if they're in a relationship in maybe like a year or 2, or if they're in a marriage, they would have a divorce. So that's something that we all have to bear in mind, not to make us become afraid and suspicious and doubtful of the power and significance of relationships and marriages. No. Why we need to know that is so that we are aware that it takes a lot of work to make a relationship and a marriage work. So that's the first thing that I wanted to put out there. Now, secondly, before even just diving into love languages, we must understand, and this is critical, and I'm still learning, in my marriage as well. One thing that has really blessed my understanding when it comes to relationship and marriage is understanding that men and women think differently and they communicate differently. Very important. So I'll say that again. Men generally think and communicate differently from how women think and communicate. Now, the problem is we now go into relationships having ignorance of this fact, and we start, ending up in problems and troubles, which obviously lead to breakups and divorces. For example, to begin with, normally, men tend to communicate internally in seclusion. So what do I mean? For the woman, let me start with the woman. When something bothers a woman so much, she speaks more about it. So when something worries her, she externalizes what worries her. But for a man, on the other hand, the more something bothers or worries a man, the less he wants to speak about it. So it takes understanding for the man to understand this, and for a woman to understand it, because a woman wanting to always communicate with the man and the man not wanting to communicate at the same level that she wants to talk about something, it gets her very upset, because to her, she thinks the man does not care, but that is not true. Men, we care, and the more we care about something, the less we actually speak about that thing, because we are hardwired to think in seclusion and to internalize, whilst women are hardwired to be more vocal and to externalize. So I hope that is understood. Why I'm saying that is because there are so many levels and so many differences that we have as genders coming together in a relationship or in a marriage. The most important thing, just like I said last week, is not love. Love is important. For example, if you want to make jollof rice, even though we call it jollof rice, there are different components or ingredients that come together to make up jollof rice. I'm sure we would say that the two most important things, for example, would be the rice and perhaps water. And those other things are what gives it like flavors or makes it taste very well. Now, between rice and water, which one is more important? I would say the rice, for example, is more important, because without the rice, there's no way, absolutely no way you're even getting jollof rice in the first place. Now, when you look at marriage, knowledge and love is like rice and water. Knowledge is more important. It is the most important ingredient in a marriage. When I say knowledge, I'm talking about knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. And thereafter, the next component that is really important is then love. So I'm saying this because when you now get into a marriage, your focus above everything else is knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Understanding how the woman thinks. And you as a woman, understanding how the man thinks. You as a man, understanding how the woman communicates. And you as a woman, understanding how the man communicates. As a man, you don't communicate with the woman and expect her to respond like a man. You should understand that she would respond like a woman, because she is a woman. And you as a woman, when you communicate with a man, if you have the right understanding, you would understand that the way he's communicating to me is exactly like a man would. So rather than being infuriated or upset about it, you come with understanding and know how to manage and tackle it. So it's really important that knowledge plays a huge role in every relationship and in every marriage. Now, talking about knowledge and understanding, one thing that then becomes vitally important is what I spoke about last time, the love languages. Because men and women see and interpret love differently. I would say that again. The way a man sees love and the way a man interprets love is completely different from the way a woman sees love and the way a woman interprets love. And this is a big, big, big key in every relationship and in every marriage. Now, if I start with the woman, for example, and this is for us men, you need to understand this. This will totally, totally bless you if you had not known this before, whether you're in a relationship or whether you're in a marriage. It will totally, totally bless you. Now, for a man, the woman does not spell love as L-O-V-E. No, if you thought that that's how love is spelled to a woman, you're wrong. The way a woman spells love is A-F-F-E-C-T-I-O-N, affection. Another way that the woman spells love is A-T-T-E-N-T-I-O-N, attention. These two are paramount. When a woman sees and receives attention and affection, she automatically interprets that as love. So this is where men will get it wrong. Because most men would think just buying her things and giving her money means you love her. So the man is then confused because he buys her maybe a car today, and in less than a week, the woman is crying and saying, "You don't love me anymore." And he's thinking, "What do you mean? I just bought you a car." But what the woman is trying to communicate is that even though you've bought me a car, even though you've given me money, I still have not received that thing that I see as love, affection, and attention. That is why those things matter on a daily basis. Buying the woman flowers. It is not the flower per se that she values. It's the fact that you thought about her to buy her flowers. So that the bunch of flowers you give to her communicates to the woman attention, communicates to the woman love. Now, a man could literally just be driving back from work and literally just stop and pick a few flowers somewhere and come home. As soon as the woman opens the door to see that, she is excited. She is happy. She treasures that. She puts it maybe in a mug, puts water. She's so excited. That's the flower itself is not what really is exciting her. What is exciting her is that the man had her in mind, and that spells attention, and attention spells love. The same thing as well. This is why women like men to be around, usually, most of the time. They like men to be cuddly. They like lots of hugs and lots of kisses. All those things. PDA as well. For those that don't know what PDA is, public display of affection. Because those things communicate that affection to the woman. And affection, the woman interprets that as love. Now, when a man understands this, he needs to then start learning, because look, all of these things we are talking about are things that can be learned, and you only can learn it when you become first aware of it. So when you are aware of it and you have a desire to grow, then you start to gather the skills to make you better. Don't forget, and this is where women have to be very considerate and compassionate and patient, because men are brought up not to show affection. That is how men are brought up. So from when a man is a young boy, he's told not to show his emotion, because no, you're a man. Don't do that. Don't show your weaknesses, because men are brought up to think that showing emotion is showing weakness. So when the man now for 30 years, 35 years of his life does not show emotion, all of a sudden as a woman, you want him to show it every single day. Even though he desires to do that, it takes time. First of all, he has to be aware that he has that weakness, not by his own doing, but by his own upbringing. And then thereafter, he has to intentionally and deliberately work on it as a skill. And when you work on it and practice it, you get better with it. So the man has to understand it, and the woman has to be patient with the man as he begins to understand this new skill that he never had. When a man is a young boy, this is why the mother takes him to school. he's upset. Even at the age of 9, 10, he doesn't want the mom, he doesn't want his friends to see the mom taking him to school. He doesn't want his friends to see the mom hugging him in public. He doesn't want other people to see his mom kissing him in public. So with all of that, growing up from childhood into adulthood, he's lost the ability to show affection. And it takes time for that to come back in again, generally. Now, on the other hand, let me be quick with this. A woman has to understand that that man sees love very differently from the way she sees love. The way a man spells love is not L-O-V-E. The way a man is hardwired to spell love is R-E-S-P-E-C-T, respect. That is the topmost thing that a man sees and interprets as love. Respect and honor, H-O-N-O-U-R. Those are the two things. Believe me, sisters. If you begin to engage and have that skill of showing respect and showing honor to a man, he interprets that as love. So you see, on one hand, the man can buy flowers and chocolates and send letters to the woman and call her all the time. And the woman is like, oh my God, I'm so in love because of the attention and because of the affection. If you as a woman do that same thing to a man, I promise you, more than likely the man will feel like you are a pest. If you're calling him all the time, you're turning up at his workplace to pick him up, you're writing him letters, or you're buying the man flowers or chocolate, he doesn't see that as love. But when you show a man respect and show a man honor, what does honor mean? Honor means when you understand the usefulness and the uniqueness of something and show appreciation because of that uniqueness and usefulness. That's what honor is. And this is where a lot of men unwisely end up cheating in many cases. Because when a woman stops to show honor and respect, for whatever reason it is in the house, if the man begins to find that respect and honor somewhere else, for example, the secretary is always telling the man, you're so intelligent, my boss. You're so wise, my boss. Oh, like you are the best person I've worked with. The way you think of things. Oh, good morning, sir. Have you eaten today, sir? Oh, what do you like me to do for you? When the man starts getting that thing, respect and honor that he has not been getting in his house for a long time, subconsciously, that starts to interpret, if he's not careful, he starts to interpret that as love, and he starts to get drawn to this person that respects and honors him. So that is what I meant by love languages, that the man sees and interprets love differently. So when you give respect and honor, he doesn't just want it, he needs it. Like a car needs petrol to run. That's how a man needs respect and honor to function in a home, to feel loved in a home. And on the other hand, too, for a woman, affection and attention, she doesn't just want it. She actually needs it, because hardwired in her DNA by God Almighty is that she needs that to function as a woman, attention and affection. So that is what I meant by love languages. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question for you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most of the things you said are contradicting. Like, for example, you made mention of men not being brought up to show love. They love, but they don't talk much. Then you also talked about women spelling love as affection and attention. And in my own understanding, I think this attention they seek is not you being present all times, but you being involved in everything they do. For example, they are talking, they expect you to talk also, give them the ideas you have, not just sit there and make yourself available, but not engage in the things she does. So this is where I think your words or the things you said are contradicting. Please explain to me if I am wrong.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I'm more than happy to explain further in that regard. So you are, of course, correct. So when I say attention, I don't mean physical attention all the time. Hence, for example, I used the example of buying flowers and writing letters, for example. So you live with the woman in the house and you write letters and maybe just put it in her shoe or in under the pillow or something, because you know that maybe when she makes the bed in the morning, she sees it. Those things, she sees them as attention. So you're not physically there as the man talking to her or engaging with her. But when you drop those things, like buying the flower, like letters, like many other things that you could do, chocolates or whatever, it doesn't have to be anything expensive. It shows the woman that you have the woman in your mind. So you're literally thinking of her. So that shows attention. So I hope that clears that particular part of attention. It's not about being there all the time, because in fact, I do believe that in a relationship, you should not smother each other. You don't be in each other's space all the time, because don't forget, at the end of the day, it is true that man has left his parents, the woman have left their parents, and they've become together to cleave together and become one. Theoretically, spiritually, that is true, but we have to be realistic. Physically, it is not possible to be joined as one, literally, physically. We know that is not possible. That oneness is the union of direction, in terms of like going in the same direction, having the same set of like belief system. But it doesn't actually mean being together all the time in the same space, because that can actually be detrimental to a relationship. Because in life, one thing that's automatic is growth. Physical, mental, social, whatever, however you look at it, is growth. So the man has to be allowed room to grow, and the woman has to be allowed room independently as well to grow, whilst also being in the relationship. When you have two plants together and put them too close to each other in a pot, what tends to happen is they don't grow as quickly as they would if you have them in separate pots. So that's a scientific truth. It is the same with relationships. Being in a house, yes. Being together, going on dates from time to time, yes. But when you are always together and not having your alone time, it limits the growth individually, because you as a woman, you need to continue to discover yourself and who you are, and make your mistakes and think in your own space without the man being there to always give you his input and all of that. Being a man, you also need your own space, especially for men. And women have to understand this. This is where patience comes. When you have this awareness, you understand how men think and why they behave the way they behave. Before the woman was created, the man was created first. Hardwired in a man's DNA is the ability to be alone. Even though it is not good for man to be alone, hardwired in his system, when God created him without the woman there, he already knew how to be alone. So a man can very comfortably just sit in his own room for hours, or just not even call the woman, or not speak to a woman for hours, and not feel a way about it. But on the other hand, the woman was not created with this hardwired in her system. She was created for the man. So as soon as she was created, she met somebody, and she's never been without that person since that day. Hence the reason why the woman longs more. I'm not saying men don't long for attention and affection, but the woman longs more for it, because hardwired in her DNA, she was created to be with the man. So she's always looking around for him. Whereas the man was created to be alone at first, and the woman was then brought in to help the man. So with that understanding, the woman would know that I give him space sometimes. When he's watching football, for example, that's not the time to go and stand and say, darling, we need to talk. You are bringing problems. No matter how important that communication, that thing you want to talk about, allow a man space to be a man. And find the time. This is where the wisdom of a woman comes in, the virtue of a woman comes in. Find the time to talk to him. There are certain times you can sense that he would prefer to be alone at this time. Don't disturb him. In fact, if he's watching the football, the best thing, I'm just using football for example, the best thing to do is even to sit down and watch it with him. Don't talk about the children, don't talk about finance, don't talk about anything, just watch it with him. Oh, a man loves that. He loves that you're just engaging with him in his small cave, in his small. And what happens is that before you know it, the man would bring up topics. For example, the man is going out on a run, going to jog or something. and you also buy your own shoe, jogging shoe or whatever, and you start to come with him. Men love things like that, where you're not engaging because you want to talk, but you're engaging because you just love what he is doing. So you use all these small little tricks to get better. Like I told you, it's a skill. Awareness is the first thing. And then the determination or the commitment to learn is the next thing. And once you practice, get better. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes you and I become better. So I hope I've been able to explain that particular aspect. I know we'll come to communication later on if you want me to.
Yeah,
Thank you very much,
just been able
Grace.
to answer your
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
All
But I
right.
think I still have one
Okay.
more.
Ask
Your
me.
Grace. Okay. I also want you to explain to me when you said men define love as respect, right? That, for example, a woman who checks up on her husband every now and then is seen as pest, right? I don't know if that was what you said. It's seen as somebody is,
Like she's pestering.
yeah, pestering the man, yeah. But you also made mention of the secretary checking up on the boss. Have you eaten? Is there anything you would want me to do for you? Don't you think it's almost relating to, it's almost the same? Because the wife is home checking up on her husband, like how is work going? Is it easy for you? Are you hungry? Do you need me to get you something? Isn't it the same?
That's a very, very good question. First of all, this is important to know. For every one of us human beings, man and woman, the most important thing to oneself is their own self. Let's just be clear about that. That for the man, no matter how much you love the woman, the children, or whatever, it is you that is most important first, i.e., your pride and your ego. And to the woman, it is the same thing. And it's a natural thing. There's nothing wrong about that. Yourself is the most important thing to you to begin with. The difference when we talk about the respect, the difference between what happens sometimes, so that was just an example. I'm not saying it's something that happens in every relationship or every marriage, but it's something that happens a lot. I think I would assume. Now, when the woman wants to communicate with the man, in many cases, it's about her. So meaning it's about me, for example. Whereas when he's communicating with, we use a secretary, for example. I hope women will not hear this and start becoming suspicious of their brother's secretary at work, or please. This is just an example. Now, when the woman is asking, how are you? Have you eaten? The woman is not asking about herself. Now, the woman is appealing and engaging with the man's pride and ego. Do you see the difference now? So, me communicating with you and asking about you and talk and listening to you and honoring you. So if I look at you and say, Sister Ruth, oh my God, every time I see you, you're such a happy person. Every time I see you, you always inspire me to smile and be happy. I believe you would like that kind of conversation. You wouldn't think that's nagging, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm appealing to one thing that is important to every human being, pride and ego. I am giving you honor. And honor grants access. It's a spiritual, for anybody that you honor, the person opens up to you. Yeah. That's very important to know and to understand. So when this woman is communicating honor and respect to the man opens, the woman gets access and the man opens up to the woman. So that's the two things. Now, a woman, the Bible says that a nagging woman, it's in the book of Proverbs, a nagging woman is like a leaking tap that makes the man want to sit on his roof. It's a powerful quote in the book of Proverbs from King Solomon. And I think when somebody like King Solomon that was with 300 wives and 700 concubines, and he didn't die, I know we have talked about communication and saying communication is key, but I disagree. Communication is not key in relationships. What is key in relationship is effective communication. I'll take that again. communication is not key. A lot of us go into relationships and say, we have to communicate, and you're angry because the man is not talking back, is not telling you or talking to you. It's because what you call communication is not effective. It in fact becomes a problem. Where I work, there's a man that after he finishes his shift, he will go back to work and stay there till night before he goes home. So one day all of us were having a conversation. I came into work and he was there, he's finished, but he was still there. And somebody asked him, why are you always like, you finish work? Most people are running home to go and eat or spend time with family, but you're here. And he just openly said, I can't stand my wife. That's why I come back to work. So I come to work and make sure she must be sleeping before I get home. So that once I get home, I just lie down, peacefully sleep. And then once I wake up, I move again and come back to work. So this is what happens when the communication is not effective. It's got to be effective communication. That is what is key to a relationship or to a marriage. Oh, let's talk. That's actually chasing the man away because the communication is not, men don't like talking. I told you before, men prefer to internalize more than externalize. It doesn't mean they don't care, but they care as equally as you do. They care about the finance, the children, and all of that. That's why they are secluded in their thoughts. So you have to be aware of these things and know what communication is as opposed to effective communication, because effective communication is what helps with the relationship or the marriage.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for answering that. I just feel like because you're a man yourself, you're speaking more for the men, and it's unfair to the women if they are not being understood, but you can't understand from the woman's perspective. I also like the fact that you also touched on areas that women feel very important, especially in relationships. But I want to ask, because it's necessary, we're talking about long-lasting relationships and marriages here. At what point do you think it's necessary to involve a third party? Perhaps the communication is not effective between the man and the woman in the relationship or the marriage. Do you think it is necessary to involve another person? And who is best described, or who fits best to become a third party?
That is a very vital question, and I'm so grateful that you asked that question. Now, first off, my utmost belief is that in every relationship where there's a desire for it to be long-lasting, and then in every marriage, there has to be a figure that the man or the woman can run to for counseling and for the right involvement if required. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. It's absolutely important that there's a figure that the man respects that can come in to settle differences or arguments or whatever the case may be. Vitally important. A lot of women enter into marriages with men that don't succumb to any authority above them. They don't respect their own father. They don't respect their mother. They don't respect anybody in the church, in the Bethel. They don't respect anybody in the family. You are in trouble if you marry such a man. Because who do you run to when you need a mediator? Because there are times that the man will not see things from your point of view. The man will be very antagonistic. And men, one thing with us that's very bad, our pride is dangerous. A man can be dragging you into hellfire and he will behave like it's AC. He'll be telling you, don't worry, you will see, the whole place will be cool just now, because the thing is burning him. But the pride of a man can make him drag his whole family into the gutter, into hellfire, whereas he's still acting like he's in AC. So this is where the woman, when she sees that it's gotten to a stage where the man is not, she's employing effective communication, she's praying, she's doing all the things that she knows should be able to give her a breakthrough with the man. When she sees that these things are not happening, it is important that the woman then has that union in the relationship or in the marriage, that there's a figure, a person that the man respects. That's the man and the woman should not just go to this person without the man and the woman having an understanding that, look, if at any time we have issues, this is the person that we go to, right? That's important. So myself and my wife, I use us as an example. We have certain people. So we have a male figure and we have a female figure. At any time we have issues that, has gone beyond our capability of having the right thought process or the right, mentality to resolve it. We have agreed amongst ourselves that we go to this person, this man figure, and we go to this woman figure. And it is not just any third party. It doesn't have to be mother or father, because sometimes in-laws become outlaws in relationships or marriages. So be careful of in-laws. Just because the person is your mother or because the person is your father doesn't mean they are the right people to bring into relationships. In fact, sometimes are the worst people. I told you, in-laws very quickly become outlaws in relationships and in marriages. And in fact, they're the ones that cause it to finally break down. So what that means is that you have to identify somebody that is a wise person. You have to identify somebody that is not biased towards one person above the other. It has to be somebody that is very knowledgeable. That's somebody that's got experience when it comes to relationships, when it comes to counseling. Somebody that both of you respect. Because if the man, I don't even respect my own mother. If you go and report me to my mother, I'm going to insult two of you even, if care is not taken. So how does that help? But when you report me, for example, you go to, if the station missionary is somebody that we've agreed that we respect highly, and we've agreed that, look, if this matter goes beyond, we go to this person. We agree this beforehand. Now, when a matter goes beyond, this is where a woman can go to that person. Say, for example, if it's a station missionary, somebody you trust with discretion, privacy, somebody that is wise, somebody that will give unbiased counseling. When the woman goes to report this case, now that station missionary, for example, can then attend and resolve the situation. And many times they will be able to, because the man respects that person. So when they say, look at it this way, what your wife is saying is true. You are overreacting. You are doing this, you are doing that, blah, blah, blah. You see, the man sees it from a different angle, especially if it is a man that he respects. And then you will see that he most likely will adjust. So yes, to answer that your question squarely, it is important to have a third party only if it is somebody that is wise, knowledgeable, somebody that is respected, somebody without bias for one person or the other, because once there's bias, it will not work. Very important, because otherwise the man becomes a god to himself in a house, and you don't want that. On the other hand, as well, the man needs that there's a female figure, if possible. It doesn't have to be female, that he can go to if he's trying to, have a breakthrough in terms of something with the woman, and the woman is not, understanding. Then it's important that they have a female figure. And if you don't have this, you can also employ therapists as well. I know a lot of people, some of us tend to be so spiritual, and we don't entertain the thoughts of therapists or counselors. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if it is the right type of therapist or the right type of counselor that you engage, because then they can help to mediate. And what that means is that what they help to do is they help to make you, that's what it, when you go to a therapist, for example, what they do, what you pay them all your serious money for, is just to help you people listen to each other, which if you learn yourselves at home, you would even save yourself the money. They just sit in the middle and say, oh, okay, you say your mind, say it respectfully, whilst the other person is listening. When the wife is talking, if the man wants to talk, the therapist says, no, we've all agreed that when she's speaking, you listen carefully and you listen to understand, you don't listen to respond. So the man keeps quiet. And then as the woman talks and talks and talks, and the woman finishes, then the therapist says, okay, what have you got to say to that? So you see that what the therapist is really doing is what you and I can do at home if only we understand and practice it. Effective communication begins with listening to understand, looking at the woman, listening and having an open heart, filled with compassion towards her, filled with empathy and sympathy. On the other hand, the woman listening to the man and not being over judgmental and over critical, but listening with sympathy and empathy and with consideration and, compassion. So when you are able to do these things, the more you do it at home in your relationships, the more you get better, and then you don't even require so much third parties or therapists or counselors, but still highly important to have a figurehead that is respected, that is knowledgeable, that you can call upon. That sort of person can literally save your marriage. When I say literally, I promise you, a person that is respected can, the time that the man is saying he's not doing anymore, or the woman is saying they're not doing anymore, that one person, God can use them to save the marriage.
Thank you so much,
Grace, for explaining the need of having third party. Although many people do not agree in this aspect, most people say the only person you need to involve in your relationship should be God. I want to ask, how intentional would you be, or what extent, because I know God is always present with us, is always with us 24/7, but at what point do you think you should involve God intentionally in your relationship or marriage?
That's a really, really good question. I think there's even two questions in one there. When we are talking about God in the relationship, God has to be involved from the get-go. God has to be the central figure in the relationship from the beginning. Now, even moving back to before the relationship begins, especially, I know you said that perhaps I'm speaking more from a man's point of view, and that's expected because I'm a man. But I'm trying to also speak from a woman's point of view, because in trying to understand how things work, I've tried to understand from a woman's point of view how they think and how they relate and how they communicate and all of that. But let me go back to even before entering into the relationship. The first important thing for a woman to find out from a man, before you even ask him, do you love me? Before you seek for attention or affection, is to find out whether God is present in that man's life. When I say find out whether God is present, I don't mean whether he goes to church. I don't mean whether he's an archbishop or whether he's has any title in church. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, has that man got the fear of God in him? The presence of God brings the fear of God. That is the first thing, the first virtue a woman must look for in a man. If you meet a man and he has not got the fear of God in him, even though the man loves you, the marriage is destined for failure. Because the fear of God is what gives the man a moral compass or a moral consciousness. There are many times that the man would want to do certain things, and it is the fear of God that pulls him back. If he does not have the fear of God, he becomes a god in the house. That is why you see some men who beat the woman. A man that beats women all the time is a man that lacks the fear of God. He does not have the presence of God. Such a man can actually be an archbishop. I hope you're aware of that. But if he lacks the fear of God, then that marriage will malfunction. And I'll quickly tell you why. If we go back to the beginning, the first thing that when God created man, the first thing he gave to the man wasn't a woman. The first thing he gave to the man was his presence, his fellowship. I will say that again. When God created man and put man in the Eden, the first person, the first love of his life, the first person that he ever was communicating with, the first person he knew, the first person he was ever one with was his father, God. So if you meet a man and he's lost that communication with his first love, he will always malfunction. So I always tell people, when you meet a man, make sure you meet him in Eden. What do I mean? Make sure you meet him in the presence and in the fear and knowledge of God, because otherwise a lot of things will malfunction. So to answer that question, when you come together in a relationship, God should always be there from the beginning, because in the structure, in the institution, which is the oldest institution created by God, marriage, is that the man is the head of the home. And the head of that man, so that man responds and is responsible to someone, he works under someone. The head of that man is Christ, and Christ is God. So you see that already when you come together into a home, Christ has to be the head of that man in the home. So God is involved. So every single time, that's why they say that a couple that pray together stay together. The understanding in that statement is that people that engage God have a better potential of lasting longer. Why? I tell you why. It goes back to another thing you brought up in your question. When you pray to God for something to answer your prayer in any way, shape, or form, when you see a person coming, discern that most likely is your answer. When God is ready to answer prayers, he sends a person. This is a very powerful thing to know. And sometimes we call it destiny helpers, for example. I will say that again. When you involve God, so when the man and the woman, there's something going on in the house, there's a lot of contention, a lot of fight and worry. When you engage in prayer, when God is ready to answer you, somebody shows up in some way, shape, or form. It might be the third party person that you have both agreed to say that this is the person we'll look up to. Because when God is now answering you people, he's answering through that person. God is not going to come down in your living room and start settling two of you. Oh, you keep quiet. Oh, you... No. He's going to use a person. So you have to discern and understand that when you have God engaged, when you need his help, he sends that help through a man unto you to answer your request. So I hope I've been able to answer that. God is heavily involved from the beginning. When you take God out of the equation, it's equal to failure.
Okay, thank you very much for doing justice to Sister Queen Sam's question. You have another question on YouTube coming from Gladys Onyabo. She says, please, Archbishop Bernard Obuks, how effective must the communication be for a relationship to be long-lasting? What is the way out of a broken relationship that has failed to communicate effectively?
Okay, that is very, very good. Very, very good question. I said again earlier on that communication is not the key. In fact, many a times communication is the problem because the communication is not the right type of communication. Just because I'm talking to you doesn't mean I'm getting through to you. In fact, the words I'm saying, the inflection, the tone, the loudness, the volume can actually be pushing you away. You see that there's something that happens when two people are shouting at each other. They're actually communicating with each other, you know. But what happens in the spirit is that even though they're standing next to each other, in fact, they might be in each other's faces. Their spirits are far from each other. Hence the reason why they feel the need to shout. Even though the person is standing right in front of you, you're shouting because though the physical body is there, the spirit is far from each other. So it's almost as if you have to shout for the person to hear you. That kind of communication is not effective, though you are communicating, but it is not effective communication. So then, what is effective communication? Effective communication is when you seek first to understand before you then seek to be understood. I will say that again. Effective communication begins with you seeking first, openly, without bias, to understand before you seek to be understood. So that means the first thing you do is listen, not to listen to respond. You listen to understand first. And when you get the facts, you then respond. So then you're not reacting, you are then responding because you have the facts. Another thing I've learned in terms of listening, because listening is a skill, it's almost like riding a bicycle. You need to do it over. Sometimes you fall, but you get up, you do it. And after some time, you start to get the hang of it and almost start to become a master in it. Listening is like that. It is a skill. Listening to understand. And then when the person has finished speaking, you can even ask questions to say, oh, I heard you say X, Y, Z. Just to be clear, does that mean X, Y, Z? And then no, your partner will be like, no, that's not what I meant by when I said this is what I meant. So you see already, that sort of skill gives you the ability or the avenue for you to understand things clearly before you then respond. And that takes skill. There's one interview that I saw on TV, and it was this man and this woman, and they were having serious issues in the marriage, and they went to a therapist. So this was like a reality TV show. And the therapist obviously asked the woman what the problem is. And the woman said the man is not intimate with her. And the man exploded. He was angry. He was like, what do you mean? I'm not intimate with you. I'm always intimate with you. This is what I don't understand. I don't know why she lies all the time. And as he was shouting, the therapist said, hold on. Wait. Please calm down. The man calmed down. The therapist said, ask your wife what she means by being intimate. And then the man said, okay, just to be clear, what do you mean by being intimate? Why do you say I'm not intimate with you? And the woman said, you don't open up to me and you don't show me affection. That's what I mean. And the man said, oh. The man said, all this time, I thought when you said intimate, I thought you were talking about physical, sexual intimacy. I didn't know that's what you meant. So that example shows us clearly that it is possible for you to be communicating with somebody and using words, thinking they understand what you're saying. So she has always been saying to the man, you're not intimate with me. And the man is thinking, what are you talking about? I'm always intimate with you all the time. This is a religious channel. I don't want to maybe be a vulgar, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. I'm always physical with you. Like, what do you mean? But because they didn't ask each other to explain further, they didn't understand. So listening means opening up, hearing, not hearing to respond immediately, but hearing to understand, and then asking questions. When you said this, is this what you meant? And then giving the person the obviously the opportunity to say, oh, yes, that's what I meant. Or even say, oh, no, that's not actually what I meant. They'll be like, oh, okay. And then it helps you respond better to what the person really meant. So that's one thing about effective communication. Another thing about effective communication is, I think I heard you talking about it earlier, is knowing the time. It is so vital. Knowing the time to communicate. Just because the thing is so important, it's about the child, it's about school fees, because it's important doesn't mean every time or any time you wish, that's when the conversation must go on. The first thing you must avoid, do not ever try to communicate about important things in a relationship when anybody's angry. Please, don't even go there. I know Sister Ruth mentioned it earlier on, and I was so happy hearing that from her. When you are in a conflict situation, that is the worst time to talk about anything important. So you must have ground rules in a relationship that if any one of us is angry, we must respect the person and not speak about whatever it is at that moment. You must be disciplined to not speak about it then. Because you tell me, if you try to build a house in the rain, what's going to happen? Or during the storm? Do you think that house will be a strong house? Of course it will not be a strong house. You're trying to build a house where there's heavy storm, rain pouring down. That is how it is when you're trying to communicate when there's anger. It's not going to work, even though you finish talking about the thing, but you've wasted your time. So always move away from the conflict. Give yourself time to calm down and understand what it is that is causing you to be angry, and then come back to have that conversation. And it takes two for this to work, because if the man and the woman don't have this understanding together, it's not going to work. But when they have this understanding together, it's perfectly okay for the man to say to the woman, look, I'm not in the mood to speak about this right now because I'm upset. I will speak about it shortly or soon or later. The woman respects that, because she knows that the grand scheme of things, the end game is for the marriage to work. So she respects that. And then they now come at a better time where temperature has cooled down, and then they have that communication. So communication is big, and please, I'm so sorry for taking your time. Effective communication, open your hearts to listen, to understand the person before you then communicate. Ask questions. Do not communicate in conflict situations. When a doctor wants to prescribe medication, they would not just prescribe medication anyhow. They would first know from talking to you, understand your symptoms, understand how it affects you, understand when it started. So they're asking the questions to understand before they prescribe. A lawyer, when you go to a lawyer, they'll ask you questions about the facts of the case to understand before they start to tell you their opinion legally. That is how it should be in a relationship or a marriage. You understand first what is going on behind the scenes before you then respond. That is effective communication. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Grace. Thank you
so
so
much for explaining and taking your time to go into details, aspects that are necessary for a long-lasting relationship and marriage. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much too.
All right, that was our discussion segment on aspects that are necessary for long-lasting relationship and marriage. During our previous episode, we had, talked about love as a key aspect, and today we are also finding out that effective communication is also necessary, as well as understanding and everything His Grace had mentioned during his discussion. I hope that that is well settled and understood by all our audience, because we wish everyone a successful marriage and relationship, of course, involving God in them, who is the panacea to all our problems we're facing in relationships and marriage. All the best. All right, on our health segment today, we have Dr. Samuel Jumbo on standby, who will be talking about obesity and weight loss. If you are someone who's struggling or know someone who's struggling with this issue, this is the right platform for you to get natural approaches towards obesity and weight loss. Hello, Dr. Samuel Jumbo. Good morning.
Hello, Sister Queen and Sister Ruth. Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Dr.
Oh, we're doing very well.
You're good.
How about you?
I'm doing well, by Father's grace.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Please share with us what you have for us today.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay. Sorry, one moment. There we go. All right, so I have today PowerPoint that I prepared. It's called Weight Loss and Obesity, and it is by Dr. Jumbo. Okay, so starting off with the definition of obesity, it is the abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that presents a risk to health. And it is measured by what is called BMI, which is body mass index. And when it is over 25, it is considered overweight. And when it is over 30 BMI, then it is considered obesity. And here you'll see the different levels of obesity here. So the higher the body mass index, the higher the level or the class of obesity. Obesity is now considered a disease state because now it is more or less an epidemic, and turning to be a pandemic as well worldwide, because the cases are increasing more and more, especially here in America. So it's more or less a medical problem, and it makes people to be more at risk for different types of diseases: diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, health problems, cancers, and things of the sort. So we have demographics here, and this is by the WHO, or the World Health Organization. So these are international statistics that have now plagued society. So they say in 2016, more than 1.9 billion adults aged 18 years and older were overweight. Of these, 650 million adults were obese. And in the same year, they saw that 39% of adults aged 18 years and over, 39% of men, which were men, 40% were women, were overweight. So the statistics worldwide have tripled since 1975 to 2016, and it is steadily on the increase. So it is becoming more of a common concern, especially medically. As we go further in the PowerPoint, we will see exactly how obesity affects different types of disease. So pertaining to Nigeria, These are the statistics or the demographics. And it is estimated 21 million and 12 million overweight and obese in Nigeria itself, and 15 years or more in 2020, accounting for an age-adjusted prevalence of 20.3% and 11.6% respectively. The prevalence rates of overweight and obesity were consistently higher among urban dwellers in comparison to rural dwellers. And usually that's the case. The urban dwellers, the people that live in the city as opposed to the village, of course, they'll eat all types of processed food, and they're more exposed to, different diets, and also more exposed to things like pollution and things like that, as opposed to the people that, live in the village, just living their day-to-day life, and eating things from the earth. Over here in America, we call it the country, those who, don't live in the city. When you live in the country, you don't really, you're less bound or susceptible to become overweight or obese, just because of the nature of life in those areas. So most people that, they live in the city, they eat a lot more processed foods like cheese puffs, all types of, things, soda, or any type of, unhealthy beverage or food that they eat. So even in Nigeria, the conclusion is that the prevalence of overweight and obese individuals in Nigeria is of epidemic proportions. So now it has also, come to the medical community's attention that Nigeria too is also following suit with the Western world and, the rest of the world's population. So factors that cause obesity. So the pre-existing conditions that may cause obesity are things like genetics. So it could be from your lineage. And then it also states like lack of physical, activity or inactivity, as the case may be. And then diets that are high in simple carbohydrates, overeating, frequency of eating, medications, psychological factors, and specific diseases like hypothyroidism, insulin resistance, which is diabetes, type 2 diabetes, polycystic ovary syndrome, which is PCOS, usually that's specifically for females, that affects females, Cushing's syndrome, which is where you have hyper cortisolemia. So that's an increase in carbs, more or less. So those are the diseases that cause obesity. So here we have a little diagram of reasons and consequences. And these are factors that cause obesity as well. So things like depression, disability, shame and guilt, social isolation, lower work achievement, and hormonal imbalance. I think we'll expatiate more on the hormonal imbalance in this slide. So there are two hormones that govern, how much you eat and also how much you don't eat. And these two hormones are called leptin and ghrelin. So leptin is the hormone which is made by the fat cells that decreases your appetite. So when you eat too much, leptin will come in and say, oh boy, maybe stop, before you become too fat. So that's the hormone that does that. So we'll see that by this diagram right here. So you eat, goes through the digestive system, the intestines, pancreas, gives its own secretions to actually it should be a little bit before, because the pancreas goes into the intestine, and then the liver as well from the gallbladder here. But anyway, yeah, so it's, once you're eating, this hormone right here, which is called leptin, goes to the brain and tells the brain that it should stop, it should stop eating because the intestines are full. Now, ghrelin is the opposite. It's the hormone that increases appetite and also plays a role in body weight. So when you're hungry, it's this hormone, ghrelin, that goes to the brain and tells the brain that it's hungry, that it needs fufu, it needs gari, it needs egusi soup. So that's the hormone that tells your brain that it's hungry. And pretty much these two hormones work in opposites. They're opposites, the contrast to one another. But it's also the balance. So sometimes hormonal imbalance. So if you have excess of leptin or excess of ghrelin, really it's excess of ghrelin, that is what makes people to become obese. And you can train your body to either favor one, and which is the most important, would be to favor this one, which is leptin, as opposed to this one, because this one increases your appetite, this one decreases your appetite. So sometimes hormonal imbalance is a cause of obesity. And then, of course, we said the same thing here. Training the body to control ghrelin will help to suppress hunger and cause a reduction of weight. So these are the conditions that cause obesity. As we stated before, so PCOS, this is for females, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So their ovaries have multiple cysts. That's exactly what it means. Symptoms are things like hirsutism, which is abnormal growth of hair or a male pattern of hair growth for women. And then they also gain an excessive amount of weight as well. So those are like the symptoms for PCOS. Hypothyroidism, thyroid controls the metabolism of the body. So when your thyroid is hypo, you have hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. So hyperthyroidism is excessive metabolic activity of the body. Hypothyroidism means a decrease in metabolism of the body. So this causes obesity. So hypothyroidism is also, there's a disease called Hashimoto's. So that's like the common disease that is associated with hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism is associated with Graves' disease. So, so that also causes obesity as well. Cushing syndrome, we explained it before, is excessive amount of cortisol or sugars in the body, thus causing obesity. Menopause, depression, congestive heart failure, narcolepsy. So all these cause obesity. All right, so the risk factors obesity causes. So when you're obese, these are the conditions, and it's just, honestly, it's a very few amounts of conditions that obesity causes. So when you become obese, you are at risk of these specific diseases, like heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, digestive problems, sleep apnea, osteoarthritis, severe COVID-19 symptoms, and the list really goes on, but this is just to name a few. And this is why, more or less, it's becoming a medical issue because of these, diseases that obesity causes. So how to avoid overeating? It's good to eat breakfast. They say breakfast is the best meal of the day, unless you're fasting. If you're fasting, then it's different, but because me, I'm not really a breakfast person anyway, but that's just me, but choose small portions and eat slowly, and it gives the brain time to tell the stomach when it's had enough food. Eat at home, don't go out to auntie shop and start to eat bole, or eat cheese puffs and go to the supermarket and start to buy all types of things. that are made by chemicals that are, not beneficial for you. It's good to cook at home, so that at least you know exactly what is going into your food. Include maybe some herbs and things that are beneficial to the body. And also eat mindfully. Be cautious of what you're eating, especially in Brotherhood of the Cross and Star. That is very important for us because, each time that you ingest something, you should, usually that's associated with feast, like the Feast of Love. When we ingest something, we pray over it, of course, and it becomes the body of our Lord Jesus Christ, so that's very important to eat mindfully and respectfully at all times, not just during feast, so because some people, when they eat feast, they'll take like 2 or 3 plates, and they'll even hide one of them and then, pretend as if they never got one. And then before you know it, they have 5 plates and you will never know. So anyway, it's good to eat respectfully and mindfully, not only in respect of your body, but in respect of our Lord Jesus Christ as well. All right, so foods to avoid. So as you can see, meat, this is the main thing right here. You see it's bad, I'm telling you. And I mention it in every one of my presentations because it's the truth, So it's very good to avoid meat, beef, pork, lamb, goat, processed meats, all of these things. It's good to avoid them. White rice, dairy, potatoes, baked or fried, refined grains, white rice, white bread, sweets, fruit juice. It's very good to avoid that as well. Sugar sweetened beverages like soda, fruit drinks, sports drinks, all of those things. They're all not beneficial for you. The fruit juice, I would say if it's fresh fruit juice, then it's good because it is natural. But if it's something that is store-bought, maybe you're going to the supermarket and you're, buying, fruit juice. Really, it's not juice. It's like 2% juice, and the rest of it, nobody even knows what they really put inside. So fresh juices are the best. Okay, so foods to eat, things like broccoli, nuts, seeds, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, fibrous foods, probiotics, fermented foods. So I know you probably can't really see the background, but all of these are fermented foods. These are pickles. This right here should be radishes and things of the sort. So all of these are fermented foods, very good for GI tract health. So it's very good to eat. Probiotics are very big for anything gut related. And when you ingest these probiotics or fermented foods, because probiotics pretty much is saying pro-life, more or less, like bio means life, pro, right? But it's in support of good bacteria, because bacteria help break down, or they help with the process of digestion, starting from our mouth all the way to the anus, So not necessarily in the anus, specifically, but in the GI tract that leads to the anus, though, So it's very good to digest probiotics because they help to digest food and extract nutrients as well. So very important. Exercise, of course, is very important as well. At least 3 times a week is good. All of these: walking, jogging, running, cycling, weight training, interval training, swimming, yoga, Pilates. I wouldn't really do yoga just because it has Hindu or fenugreek. It's very good, even for hair growth. So men, if your hair is receding like my own, you can take fenugreek, and they have specific recipes for hair loss as well. Maybe we'll treat that in another segment. It's called alopecia, and like that's the medical terminology. And then cayenne pepper, is very good for weight loss. Anything pepperish, really. You have to burn the fat, that is like one of the main things. So cayenne pepper is good. Ginger, the same thing. Garlic, rosemary, ginseng, Asian ginseng, or oregano, and all of these, turmeric, black pepper, cinnamon, all of them, cumin, cardamom, they're all good for weight loss. Another thing that I didn't really mention in the PowerPoint is the fasting. Some people really do like intermittent fasting. They do, different types of fast, water fast, juice fast. I know we mentioned it earlier in one of our recent presentations, how fasting helps to lose weight. Fasting is something that can be used for both spiritual purposes and physical as well. So both of them are, very beneficial, beneficial ways to lose weight. Also something called a ketogenic diet. So switching from carbohydrates to ketones is something that is very beneficial. It's a popular diet here in America called the keto diet. So that's also a very good way to go about it. I didn't put these things in the slide because if I were to put everything in the slide of obesity, there would probably be too much. But yeah, so I just put these few things, and I hope that is helpful. That will be the end.
Thank you so much, Brother and Dr.
For that explanation, for that wonderful presentation on obesity and weight loss. My question to you concerning obesity, because you mentioned exercising, and one of the main, or should I say frequently asked question when it comes to do with exercise is how consistent should one be to achieve results? Because we get a lot of people complain they've been exercising but there's no change. So how long does it take to achieve results?
That's a very good question, Sister Queen. Usually, to start off, I would say 3 times per week would be preferable. 3 times per week, maybe 30 to 45 minutes just to start off, because you don't want to start off and fatigue yourself and go to the gym every day, or at your house or however you want to exercise. So I would say 3 times a day. Something as simple as walking is very beneficial. So if you walk for maybe an hour and a half, that in and of itself is exercise. It's not just to go into the gym and start to lift weights and throw weights around and things like that. If your primary concern is weight loss, then it is beneficial to focus on cardio. So I would say that it would take, depending on your workout regimen, it will take about a week to 2 weeks to actually see results. And just start to go from there. But one of the main things with exercise that people don't really know is it also is dependent on what you eat. If you do not eat properly, then the exercise that you're doing will not really last. It will not really be beneficial for weight loss. So those 2 things work hand in hand. So you have to eat properly and also, exercise as well. And then you will see results quicker than you would have believed.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Jumbo. Here is a question from Benaro Books. He says, Dr. Jumbo, peace, very vital topic, thanks. My wife recently was talking about good fats.
That helps the body lose weight. I found that to be very intriguing. What kind of fat helps?
Yes, very good question, Your Grace. The love doctor. But, very good question. Yes, so good fats are very good for things like avocados, walnuts, nuts, seeds, things like coconut milk, coconuts, the flesh of the coconut as well. Those are very good for the process of losing weight. So those are very beneficial to the body and for weight loss as well. So those are good fats. You can also go into the route of like flaxseed oil. Some people use fish oil. I'm vegan, so I don't really, I know the for that one, but if you're, altarian, then yes, you can go that route. Fish oil, fish fat, and fish flesh. They also say that that's good. Something like red meat or anything of the sort, goat meat and things like that are not good. But if, fish is more lean. So for the rivers people, if you chop fish, and that one will help in the process of losing weight. But if you're going more into the vegan route, things like avocados, coconut, and things of the sort are very beneficial. Very good question.
Okay. All right, before you, Sister Rick comes to her question.
There's a final question from me. Does maternal obesity pose a risk to the child?
Yes, it does. Yes, like genetics play a big role in obesity. So if you are obese, it is possible that your child may also be obese and may also have health conditions if they are not cautious of what they eat and what they do. It does play a big part in the overall health of your child, and also if the child will become obese or not. So it's good for us to keep that in mind when, because it's not just for us, it is also for our children as well, and for the benefit of their health. So genetics definitely play a big role in reducing the risk of obesity in our children.
Okay, very well then. We have a final question from Gladys.
She's saying, please, Dr. Sam Jumbo, what is your advice for a person trying to control weight gained by eating unnecessary foods? Do we truly have tablets to help one slim down?
Very good question by DV Gladys Onyabo. Yes, they actually do have tablets, especially here in America, because weight gain and obesity is on the rise, and it's been on the rise for a while, because of all of the carcinogenics that they put into all the chemicals that they put into meats and the foods that we eat, the processed foods and things of the sort. So yes, they have a lot of artificial ways of controlling obesity. Things like liposuction, that's the surgery that they do, and they suck all the fat from your stomach, from your belly. And they also have diet pills that people ingest and helps them to lose weight. They also have like herbs too, that also help. Nowadays is something that's recent. Things like apple cider vinegar powder, they'll have that in a capsule that you can take. I wouldn't recommend it because they also put a little bit of like chemicals inside, and pills in general are not necessarily beneficial because it does damage your liver and your kidneys as well, just because of the process of the breakdown inside of the GI tract. So the most preferable way of doing things is going the natural route, exercising, eating a good balanced diet, and that is, the best way to go.
Okay, thank you so much, Jumbo. Thank you for lecturing us on all we need to know about obesity, the food to eat and the food not to eat, especially when we are exercising. Thank you so much for that. I hope you've all learned a lot from today's lecture, because I have also learned mine. Now we are taking the next available flight to meet up with Sister P. Smith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the streets of Calabar. She's there to ask a question on what's the
Effect.
effects of social media on youth self-esteem? Please stay with us.
Bonjour à tous. Good morning to you out there. How are you doing? I am P. Smith, reaching out to you on Starcross Television. I hope you're having a beautiful morning, because if you don't, not to worry. P. Smith is out here to spice your morning with this mind-blowing question. What's the effect of social media on youth self-esteem? Is it rather good or bad? What's your stand? Remember, your opinion matters. All right, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Let's do this together while we are here on the streets of Calabar.
Television is the only entertaining station with spiritual messages reaching the world.
Starcross Television.
Hello, brother. How are you?
Fine, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Komomo.
Brother Kumomo. Please, we have a question for you. The question is, what's your take on the effects of social media on youth self-esteem?
I think it's the positive one for me. The reason is we live in a world right now where a lot of things are done for book. So I think social media will help youth if they wish for social media to help them positively, to align themselves with the current happenings in the world, help them propagate, especially in brotherhood, help them propagate the gospel of the Father, even without them stepping out from the house. Then the social media also can give you a platform where you can, enterprise a lot of things, ideas and whatsoever you have. That's from the positive angle or aspect. Then negatively, if you give in to negativity, it will help spread like wildfire, But at the same time, it will not give you a good image. It won't give you that, it won't make people see you to be a responsible person. Social media can make or buy you. That's my take on the effects of social media for youth.
So if you allow me to ask, so has social media make or mar you? Which one?
I don't know. I'm not the one to judge myself. People judge me, so I judge people too. Well, both of God judges everybody.
Thank you so much for your time.
Goodness. Well, I will not say much is that the effect is in disadvantage and advantage. It's good and bad. So it depends on the one that you're asking me, whether it's for the good or for the bad.
No, this is effect. You can decide to tell me both sides.
Yeah, the good and bad is that for the youth, the social media can make them popular in terms of work. They can, they have this kind of work promotion and all those stuff, and people get help from social media. But the disadvantage of it is that the way people are using it right now with this publicity, that something can happen, and before you know, we are seeing it on social media, and the person will commit suicide, will not want to walk on the road because of how it is. So that was what I was saying, and they are making a lot of disadvantages of it.
So weigh it between the disadvantage and the advantage. Which one weigh the other?
Leave am. The disadvantage now 60-65%. Then the advantage now 25%. The rest now for God.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
My name is Basi Gano. So everything has two things involved. Advantage in social media in terms of communication, passing information. In terms of disadvantage, it corrupts the youth with some media videos. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
When the young ones watch it, very bad.
So other than the negative aspects, does it help?
No, it doesn't help.
Social media does not help?
It helps in the negative part. But the other way around is corrupt children that doesn't have any idea about it.
Okay, thank you so much, because from your explanation I can get that you said it's its effect is both negative and positive. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for your time. Thank you.
I'm Hanita. Really, social media is good. It has advantage and disadvantages. You know, our children learn more on it. When you go into social media, you have a lot of experience about things you don't know. You get enlightened about things. But in the other way around, it has its own negative side on them. Because when you get to some areas, you know, about all this that you see a lot of corrupt things, people use corrupt words, you understand, they post nude pictures and all those things. So social media has its advantage and disadvantages.
Well, I would say in a nutshell, because I've actually put myself involved. Yeah, it's like it depends on your mindset, about the social media act. The social media one, I would say there are much influence in it, which could actually make you who you want to be and which could actually diminish you in the way you want to be. So it's all about the mindset. For me, I use my social media like with a purpose, to motivate my self-esteem, maybe with what I'm saying. But the youth nowadays, why I would say the youth now, the teenagers are the one abusing the social media, and the girls and the boys that are still teenagers are the ones that are really making it look very awful. Like, the social media, you now have naked girls, you have boys that, trying to, do rituals and all that, learning from others, thinking there's a fast way to make money, and there's no other way than the fast way to make money, So all I would just say is that, man, each and everyone should just put their heads together, pull up their mindset and just do the right thing, because you know what is your motivation. If this is your motivation, you do it. If it's not your motivation, don't try to fool another person and just do what you don't need to do. Yeah.
Wow, that was great. And I believe that you actually learned a lot. You can hear from that girl who said 65 it's for disadvantages, while 25 is for the advantage on the effect of social media on youth self-esteem. That was great, I felt you. So what's your own take? Do you think the social media has any advantage or disadvantage on the youth? So if you do, all right, you can drop your comment on our YouTube channel, BCS Starcross Television International, and very well we'll get to you. Thank you so much. That's all I can take for today on this question. All right, until next time, I am P. Smith. And this me saying, bonjour. Do have a good day. Bye.
Starcross Television is the only entertaining station with spiritual messages.
Welcome back to Morning Star Breakfast Show. Yes, we have heard from the streets what people have to say concerning the effects of social media on youth's self-esteem. And I like the fact that they were very realistic with their responses. It has both negative and positive effects rather, and it depends on your usage of social media. Social media can help you promote yourself, promote your talent, promote your business, promote things that would help you gain clients and more more recognition in the world. However, do not let social media influence you negatively. That would lead you to depression, because all you see on social media are not all it is in the real life. It's not all it is. So do not let it influence you. Do not let it pressure you into doing things. I know a lot of people have achieved so much in their youthful age, as well as people who have also achieved a lot in their advanced age. So it doesn't matter when you get to achieve it. All that matters is that you will definitely achieve your aim, your goal. So do not let social media pressure you a lot. I saw something on comparison, and people always say, there's one book I read on comparison. It says, do not compare your chapter 1 to another person's chapter 50. Just because you're just beginning that phase of life does not mean that it's quite all right for you to look up to those people and how much they've achieved for themselves and how they were able to achieve those things. But do not compare your stage in life with another person's stage, because behind the scene, people do not put out what they do behind the scene, how they struggle. They rather put the results. So you just see the results, admire the results. You don't get to recognize that there were struggles, there were failures, there were experiences behind the scenes. So do not not compare your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 50. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that social media has helped a lot to boost their self-esteem and a lot to use it to make money.
Yeah.
Some sit in the comfort of their homes and make money out of it, while some just use it for fun, like postings and the rest. But it has really helped a lot positively, not negatively.
Somebody said social media has helped negatively 65%, 25% positively. The rest she leaves it to God. That was really funny. But anyways, I thank you so much for also being part of today's Morning Star Breakfast Show. We told you we're bringing the right energy and vibes for the weekend. We started off the program by continuing our discussion on does love guarantee a longing relationship or marriage, where we talk more on communication, the aspects of communication, and how effective it is in marriages. And we also heard from His Grace Archbishop Venerable Books on that aspect as well, based on his experience and how much knowledge he has gathered in that regards. We also went straight to US, where we spoke with Dr. Samuel Jumbo on obesity and weight loss, and he gave us natural approaches to obesity and weight loss. He also went as deep as talking about foods we need to avoid and foods we need to eat, and also other aspects like exercising and how they help in reducing weight and controlling obesity in that regard. We also went to the streets, where we all just finished hearing from Peace Meet and the lovely audience she was able to interact with on the effects of social media on youth self-esteem. This is how far we are going to come, or we are going to go, on today's edition of Morning Star Breakfast Show. It's been quite interesting to host this program with authentic Ruth, who is looking like a barrister today. And we wish you all the best in this weekend. Do not forget, this is the week of the Christ Practical Students, and it's ongoing at the World Headquarters, 34 Amber Street, Calabar. So turn up in your numbers and support the Christ Practical Students. Until we come your way again on Morning Star Breakfast Show, continue to enjoy the remaining packages Starcross have for you live. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, BCS Starcross TV International. Follow us on all our social media platforms, and also your monthly and your annual support, which is very important to keep us going on the program. I am Queen Sam, and please remain blessed.
I am Ruth Obu. Thank you so much for watching. Remain blessed too. Bye-bye.